All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Quasar QUA-NOLOGY, the podcast that reviews every single chronological appearance of Quasar, your favorite Marvel superhero. I'm your co-host, Mike L, and as always, I'm joined by
Joshua Mervell, and today we're going to be taking a look at the final issues of the Cosmos and Collision storyline that we've been talking about. These are some that we really, I think, both loved the first few, and I was very eager to read the next three. I think I read them before you had even sent the email, just because I like the day after maybe we recorded last. I was like, I need to finish this. So it is pretty wild. It's definitely one of those weird comic book stories that is it would be hard to translate into other things, and even like explaining it to somebody and how it happens is so weird and out there, but I'm totally here for it. I really like this.
Well, you know what's interesting is I was creating a promo for Meteor Uniplex, okay? And I was going through old episodes of Quasar QUA-NOLOGY, and I noticed that we were much more panel by panel in our descriptions only like 6 months ago. And I think it's because the earlier issues were very straightforward.
Right.
But this story, and I was thinking about it, I guess it's more like a novel, because you're really you're in Quasar's thoughts a lot. So it's not like you can describe action. You're experiencing his thoughts, and then you're seeing and meeting these weird abstract entities that we'll talk about in a minute. But so this is definitely, the series has changed tone. It's gotten more cosmic, more weird. But I think, in a way for the better. I mean, it's definitely, I think this is the culmination of Mark Gruenwald's original plan for the character. So I'm excited to talk about this. I will say, we're starting off with number 23, and I had stopped buying Quasar with number 17, as I pointed out on the show, because the price inexplicably jumped to $2 Canadian with no extra page count or explanations. I was like, screw this. Now, obviously, looking back, I really wish I would have kept buying it. But this issue, I came back, and the single reason was because Ghost Rider was in it, because at this time, Ghost Rider was Marvel's hottest character. And so they would put Ghost Rider in anything to make the book sell, right? And of course, it worked on me, right? Because I bought it. But here we go. We're going to jump into this now. So this is
actually, have I shared the thing with you? Let me do that real quick.
Yeah.
So that way you can see. Are you seeing this too now?
I can see it now.
You're seeing the books? Okay, perfect. Okay.
Got a really good cover here. Ghost Rider fighting Death Urge. Actually, Death Urge in almost like a Spider-Man pose. But what's his name? Quasar is way in the background, in like a crucified, like in the kind of entrance to the doorway there. That's a pretty cool cover. It worked on me, like I said. So then we jump in, and we once again touch base with characters who I cannot keep track of who's who, but this is
Maelstrom. This is the character that will eventually become the big bad guy. Right. So we're flashing back. So at this point, he is kind of just this entity that was taking the form of other entities, and we're kind of getting a little bit of backstory, and the audience is catching up to why some of these weird things in this storyline have been happening.
It's an interesting device.
Yeah,
and Mark Gruenwald uses it well here. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, explaining how things have kind of happened over the past few months or whatever. Then we jump back to the present, and we join in on Ghost Rider. Now at this time, Ghost Rider was Danny Ketch. It wasn't Johnny Blaze. It was Danny Ketch, unfortunately. But he does have a cool extra power, which I believe the Ghost Rider has now, which is he can sense when innocent blood is spilled, and so he's here to get vengeance, I guess, for the innocent blood. And so he ends up going into the mansion from the previous issue, and he's fighting who are these guys again? I don't even remember.
They're just Maelstrom's goons,
right?
And like, this guy is named Helio,
Right.
So they're
Helio and Phoebus.
Right. And they are also kind of like weird entity type characters, right. Similar to Maelstrom or Oblivion, or even like the three weird sisters.
Right.
They kind of represent things, and I'm assuming this guy is like light air, like Helios, and he's got to unstrap his weighted boots to even come and fly and attack.
Sure.
They really don't get much backstory, these three guys, but the three weird sisters we do learn a little bit more about in this story. But these guys I don't know much about.
Neither do I.
Yeah, from the little bits we get in this comic.
But I do love this scene where the guy's like, all living things know fear, Mr. Motorcycle, and Phoebus is the king of fear.
Right.
And then Ghost Rider pulls him in and says, who said I was living? And the guy's like, ugh. Now, I got to point out that pull-in shot is something McFarlane would do, but this is better drawn. Like, Greg Capullo is such a good artist. That shot of Ghost Rider. Now, I want to point out something, because I noticed something, and I want to know if you noticed it too. The inking in this issue is Keith Williams. Now, this issue is what introduced me to Greg Capullo, and this is what made me like him. But within only 1 or 2 issues, Keith Williams' inking style changes to a more image style inking, and I want to, when we get to it, I want to see if you notice that too.
Okay. Yeah.
Or if it's just my imagination. But I think the inks in this issue are exquisite. I love them. They're great, very fluid. So anyway, Ghost Rider fights these guys off. Then we cut back over to Maelstrom.
Actually, Death Urge, real quick, actually shows up.
I skipped a page.
Oh, okay, yeah. Death Urge comes and he throws one of his spears through Ghost Rider, and he kind of introduces himself as one of the Heralds of Oblivion. We're kind of promised a battle between them.
Right.
And we cut back over to Maelstrom as he puts on the quantum bands for the first time.
Right, and we should point out he's inside Eon's body, which is, again, like another grotesque kind of body horror thing. But even though it's inside Eon's body, we see like a manifestation of Eon's face inside his body. We see like the shadow of the eyeball and the face at the bottom left. That's such a cool panel there. I love it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep. Then we cut back to the other page. And, of course, we know it's the other scene because the editor has added in this little caption that says Earth, because if it didn't say that, we wouldn't know where they are.
Right.
So anyway, Ghost Rider and Death Urge are going back and forth, and then as they're fighting, we go into Quasar's thoughts, and he's basically on like this astral plane. Now it gets a little bit confusing because, as far as the reader knows, this is kind of like the ghost of Quasar or the soul of Quasar, but at some point in the story, someone calls him like an energy simulacrum that thinks he's Quasar, which is almost like an unnecessary detail because it doesn't. I don't think it goes anywhere, does it?
Not quite. It's interesting. This version of Quasar is kind of, at this time, we're kind of meant to believe it's his soul, I guess, like his essence.
Right.
Then later on, we kind of learn why this like soul is floating around and living through. I think it's maybe in the next issue we kind of learn a little bit more as to why all of this is happening. But I think maybe the other character was just mistaken. I think it might have been Maelstrom, even kind of like boasting about how he's already defeated him. I can't quite. I do remember that line, but I don't remember the context it was said, and it might have been before we get the revelation of what's happening. Okay, so I'm not sure. Yeah,
we'll come across it, but basically, Quasar now is talking to
Kid.
What Death, is his name?
I believe
Kid Death, or
something like that, or Kid Reaper. Kid Reaper, which is like a cool little cartoon version of like Death, which I think is really cool. And he shows him that he can actually travel into his cloak in order to travel to wherever they go dimension,
to.
Yeah,
another dimension. So now we cut back to the mansion from the previous issue, and locked up in the basement is Moondragon, Kayla, and Ken from Quasar's office, and basically the people who were helping out Maelstrom are asking them to come up, and then as they come up, then Moondragon initiates an attack against them.
Mm-hmm.
And hold on a sec here, and then they all get into this big fight, right?
Right, and we are kind of revealed, like truth is revealed as this being, and so like her hands manifest as swords, but after this battle, Moondragon is able to kind of best her.
Right.
Yeah, we do cut back over here.
So then we cut back to the body of Eon, and so this is a cool scene. Quasar appears with Kid Reaper, and Eon's head again is manifested inside the wall, like it's like the inside of his stomach or whatever it is. So then Eon explains to him, okay, I know what you have to do. You have to kill me. He's like, kill you? What do you mean? He's like, yeah. So there's this great scene where Eon actually materializes like an energy hand and points.
Let me see.
He's
here.
like, yeah. He's like, this is where you have to
right here
attack. You have to kill me right here. I love that.
Yeah, he has to go like destroy his heart.
Yes.
And what's really cool too is
it's brain.
Oh, his brain. And they right, because that's where all of the knowledge is that Maelstrom is the kind of like taking from Eon. And I also love just this idea too that he's like thousands of miles long, like he's just like
I love that idea.
Like this gigantic entity. So like Eon himself is almost like another realm.
Yep.
And this floating kind of like head thing this whole time has just been like a small extension of him that he's like pushed through space to help Quasar.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. I really love that. And that kind of also explains why the room was so strange, like the hidden room, and how he was able to just kind of appear everywhere, and him controlling his dad, and like it's just so it's really really interesting. Like I don't know, a small detail that I really liked about it, because even in the panels we don't even really see it, but it's just like a fun little detail that I
well, also in an earlier issue, Eon appeared gigantic, I think, in one panel, and then another issue he was tiny, and Quasar's like, why are you so small? He's like, size is relative or whatever. So it's like a hint that there's something more to him that we didn't know, right? So it's very cool. So anyway, so Maelstrom attacks Quasar, but Quasar is kind of just a ghost, right? So he can't really hurt him. But then Quasar is like, well, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to do what Eon says and kill him. So then he shoots his energy at Eon's brain, and then we cut back over to Ghost Rider fighting Death Urge. But then they're going back and forth, and then Death Urge decides to kind of give it up. He's like, all right, well, you know what? I'm actually done with this. I'm gonna take off, and he just leaves him, right? And so then this is where Ghost Rider walks over to Quasar and takes him off the wall. And again, I remember reading this as a kid, and this is another incredible panel of Ghost Rider holding Quasar's dead body. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's a great artist. So he's holding him there. Great shot of Quasar all beat up, all bloodied. Then we cut back over to the inside of Eon's brain. And Quasar's like, well, I'm still here. Did I fail? Is Eon dead? And Maelstrom's like, you killed him, you unmitigated fool, you killed your own mentor. And then he's like, you put a hole right through his brain. And then Quasar's like, then Eon was an enemy, but then who was, right? And so again, that's like the hint that you're talking about of something else that's going on. So they're arguing back and forth, and then Maelstrom tries to grab him, but again, he's a ghost, so he can't. So then Quasar and Kid Reaper, so then Maelstrom disappears, and then Quasar and Kid Reaper are left there. And then we cut over to 50 miles away from Earth, and now this is where Maelstrom is like, what are you doing? We see all this energy flying around the Earth, and then he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, augmenting my natural control over kinetic energy with the might of the quantum bands. Well, what for? Why, to stop the Earth's rotation, of course. Here goes. Now I got to point out something.
It's so
I read this
crazy.
As a tween, I remember a friend of mine, he hated that because he hated the delivery or the way that scene was written. I think it's hilarious. I think it fits in exactly with Mark Gruenwald's sense of humor. Like, such a casual way to deliver the fact that he's going to stop the rotation of the Earth. I thought it was really funny. Anyway, so then again, this is another cool scene. The Earth's rotation, does it stop or is it slow? It's slowly grinding to a halt, and certain people on Earth are capable of sensing it. So we have Mr. Fantastic, I'm assuming through his equipment, Moondragon, Dr. Druid, Origin, which is the kid from number 18.
Right, from the Ex-Squadron Supreme.
Right.
Yeah.
No, not from the Ex-Squadron Supreme.
Is he not the...
He's the kid that brought Quasar up into his little treehouse in his garage, and that he was rewriting the origins of all the superheroes so that they didn't exist. And he's the one that gave Quasar his new costume.
I thought that was the Unbeing. And
remember, Origin pretended to be the he was pretending to be the other guy.
So the old lady was Origin?
Yes. Or wait, no, okay. I think this is, I can't remember if this is the good one or the bad one, but this is from that story.
I don't know why. I thought that was the baby from the Ex-Squadron Supreme that wasn't allowing them to go back to their dimension. Do you remember there was like the sorcerer that was like trying to get them back, and then they were stuck halfway in between, and it turns out that there was the baby was learning how to control. I don't know why I immediately thought of that, but
yeah, I don't remember that, but
yeah, interesting.
I have bad memory, but anyway. So then we have Phoenix, Doctor Strange, Moonglow, the Black Crow, Talisman, Shaman, and Spider-Man. I don't necessarily know if I like Spider-Man being so cosmically aware, but whatever. What are you gonna do, right?
Yeah,
what do you think?
I don't even know if I think it's just his spider sense, right? Like he's just sensing something is wrong and something is off, which is cool too, because it is like something that is happening or like about to happen. So it's
actual danger.
Yeah. And I don't know if they say that it fully comes to a halt. I don't think so, right?
I don't know if I'm not sure, but it's grinding to a halt, but you're right. I'm not sure if it actually fully stops.
Okay.
But we'll see as we go. So anyway, so then we're cutting back to Maelstrom shouting back and forth with Quasar. And then Quasar what does he decide here? So he's got to decide what to do.
Right. He either. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Oh yeah. So this is where he gets his plan, but we don't know what his plan is yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we get kind of a sudden Mark Gruenwald ending where we're in the middle of all this action. And Mark Gruenwald's like, "Oh, I ran out of pages." So basically, Death Urge comes in, and he's talking with he literally says, "Maelstrom, how goes it? Cosmic awareness be mine, Death Urge. I understand the infrastructure of the universe, how everything's related to everything else. Knowledge is the absolute power. Stopping the Earth's rotation is but the merest prelude to my ultimate goal, to stop the kinetic motion of the universe itself, reverse its direction, and cause the cosmos to collapse upon itself." And then that's the last panel, and then it's reality's end. Now again, I don't want to be picky, but to really drive home that point, I would have loved to have had a full page shot of the Earth or all the planets, and then he's like, "Well, I'm going to stop the kinetic motion of the universe." But to have this tiny little panel where it's just explained makes it less dramatic. What do you think?
Yeah, I really like this issue. I think it's really building on the fact that the entire universe is at stake here.
Right.
There are small details that I'm like, I don't love, but I kind of get over. Like you're saying, this kind of rushed ending explaining that he's off to like stop the universe now, which we did already technically know, but it just does feel a little bit anticlimactic for the story.
Right.
I do also really, really, really dislike the idea that he sacrifices Eon, he kills Eon, and then Maelstrom's like, no, you fool, how could you have done this? You've killed your master. And he gets all angry that he lost this power. He doesn't have the knowledge now that Eon had. And then after he can't fight Quasar, he decides to disappear and fine, if I can't hurt you, I'll hurt the people that you love. And then in this moment when they're all talking together, he's like, I lied. I actually was able to get all the information before Eon died. I was like, I don't know. It's a bit of a cop-out. There's no weight to Eon's death now. It doesn't feel like a sacrifice, and that's fine, I think, if you're gonna pull that from under Quasar, right? Like, he kills him and he's like, you fool, I already had it this whole time. You were too late and you sacrificed Eon. That is fine, but it's just like he pretended to not have it, I guess, to then just like later nonchalantly like, oh yeah, I actually do have it, by the way, and I'm gonna use it to destroy the universe. I don't know. I felt like there weren't any moments where I was feeling like sad about Eon, or Quasar felt like he was helpless. I always kind of felt like Quasar at this point in the story could do it because he's back as like a force ghost, essentially, floating around, impenetrable. So I was hoping for some sort of like, some sort of danger in all of this. And I know that I mean, I say that, but he's also stopping the Earth right now, but none of these characters are characters from the comic, so it doesn't like feel scary, in the story sense, right? That's
a great point, and that's why when things like this, like at this time in Marvel, there was a lot of this going on with the Infinity Gauntlet, a lot of universe-ending threats every 5 minutes, and they lose their impact. To me, I don't know, and it's almost like this type of story. I understand it was probably written for younger people, but at the end of the day, you go, okay, I know a little bit about astrophysics and astronomy. This story has no meaning because it might have, if he would have said, I'm going to destroy the solar system, it's almost like once you get past the Earth, the degree of danger only goes up this much because the human mind can't comprehend it anyway. So what's the point? It's like the solar system, he could say galaxy, but why does it have to be the universe?
And on top of that too, it's like all of our heroes, even if they are aliens or live somewhere else, they come to Earth to hang out because that's where the reader is, right? So it's like once you've started, once you've stopped the rotation of the Earth, it's kind of just like whatever. Like I don't know. It's maybe they could have not given him the knowledge of Eon. So as a retaliation, since Quasar can't do anything now and he's just this ghost, I'm gonna make you come to Earth and watch as your friends die and I stop the Earth as revenge for me not getting this power or maybe, something, right? Like,
like he could say, no, you got to give me the power or else look what I'm going to do. And he stops the Earth.
Right.
That would be better there. You're right.
Yeah, something.
And that would have taken like 2 lines of dialogue to be switched or whatever, right? So that's a quick fix.
And then I think a few of these pages too can be reversed. Or honestly, even the dialogue in some of these could just be erased and then written differently, so he has to give up the knowledge or something, right?
Totally right.
But I still did enjoy it, even with like some of its weaker moments. It's still a pretty good issue, and then as a whole, this story is really good, and I think it fits well within this arc. The art, as always, is really great. There weren't any moments where I was kind of like, it's a little bit weak here, or like, did it work? Yeah, it's really good.
Agreed. Now, to be fair, when I bought this as a kid, I did not continue buying it after this. It wasn't until years later that I went back and bought them all. But I'm glad that I did, as we'll find out.
Right. It is a kind of a big concept. Yeah. For a kid, maybe. Like, kids could still enjoy it and have fun, but it's like so weird and abstract. Even at times now, I'm kind of like having to like reread or look at a page again to kind of like.
But as a kid, I actually love that part of it.
Yeah.
Like the scenes of these cosmic entities talking as a kid. Oh, like if you've read Infinity Gauntlet, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, those scenes of like eternity and the Living Tribunal and Galactus or whoever. I ate that stuff up as a kid. I loved it. So, but anyway, okay. So now we're gonna jump to part 6 of Cosmos in Collision in Quasar 24.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to tell us what happened.
Right. So this is kind of another strange one. Again, we get a little bit of a jump backwards.
See, this is the kid I was talking about.
This is the kid, yes. But he's the unbeing.
Yes, but remember in the story, he was pretending to be the grandmother. The grandmother is...
Origin?
Oh boy. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But anyway, you can keep going. I'll figure it out as you're talking.
So we get this kind of moment where we see that Maelstrom comes to this boy and says, "Thanks so much for getting rid of Quasar. By doing so, it allowed me to kind of be able to manifest and stop the universe." And this little boy, the unbeing, says, yeah, anything I could do to help wreck the universe, just call me up, let me know.
Again, awesome.
Ridiculous.
I love that kind of dialogue.
Yeah.
It's funny.
So again, these are like issues even before this story arc that are like being brought in and tied into this huge thing. So like, even though he was going off to do these little one shots, stopping weird aliens or whatever coming to Earth, he was unknowingly still wrapped up into this larger story, this threat that was coming to Earth, which I really like. So it felt like he wasn't just kind of fucking around for a couple of years or whatever it took for all this to happen. So okay, so we jump to the present. We kind of get a small little recap of the fact that he has this knowledge of absolute power. He's now flying to all of these different places to kind of show these like crazy galactic beings that he is going to destroy the universe and nobody can really do anything about it. And hey, if you want to come see me destroy the universe, this is the time and place. You can come and watch like the end of days, which is really cool. And we start off with this watcher. I'm assuming it's Uatu because we're near Earth. And he tells Death Urge to turn around and attack him. And he blinks out of not existence, but like into another area.
Right.
Okay, we also get some weird stuff here with Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange is now talking to the great Gaia, the Earth Mother.
Yeah, so like the personification of Earth.
Right. So she is another one of these beings that is like Earth, represents Earth. And he is feeling this this weird cosmic thing that's happening, which we know to be the Earth's rotation slowing down. So he calls upon a bunch of sorcerers, even from other universes, and they all concentrate on this incantation to kind of slow down the process of the Earth stopping before it does stop and everything is destroyed. So Doctor Strange and these guys are kind of like stepping on the brakes, slowing this down to buy whoever else is involved in this, which would be Quasar, more time to actually step in and stop it. So at this moment, Maelstrom is now creating this vortex that opens up a black hole, and it is very quickly opening up and sucking the universe essentially inside of it. Then we cut back to Quasar, who in the last issue we see kind of vanish quickly as he's trying to come up with a plan. He knows that when he's in the quantum zone, Maelstrom can't read his thoughts or figure out what he's doing. So he's going here to collect his thoughts, figure out what's going on, and then come up with a plan. And then we see him kind of bump into this entity. And in the final panel here, we see, I greet you, son of Earth. So we know that this thing is kind of like calling upon Quasar. Now, and back to the physical world, we see this gigantic spaceship station type thing, and it's Galactus's home. Again, Maelstrom kind of shows up just to kind of rub it in his face that Galactus is just this puny little child that that needs to consume matter and Earths to even survive, and Maelstrom is so above this. He's more of an idea rather than like a being. At this point, we cut back to Moondragon and Ghost Rider, and she convinces Ghost Rider to take Ken and Kayla, right?
Yeah.
Back to safety. So he flies off, and then Moondragon is here kind of collecting Quasar and having this moment of mourning for her love interest, I guess, because she had a vision of the two of them together. And then we get this crazy scene where Thanos and Mephisto are hanging out in Thanos's castle, and Maelstrom shows up just to again be like, hey Thanos, you're kind of a pussy. Like, you and your Infinity Stones aren't shit. And I'm going to stop the universe, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. Thanos is like infuriated by this, and he uses the Infinity Stones and the Infinity Gauntlet to blast him, and he's still standing there afterwards, and he's like, in that case, Thanos, you just met an atheist, because he calls himself a god. Right. And then the two of them are standing there left after Maelstrom leaves, and Thanos is like, was he still standing there even after? Mephisto's like, no, you must be misremembering. You had to have destroyed him. So we cut back over to Quantum Zone. We find out that this being is Eternity.
No, Infinity.
Infinity, sorry. That is in the Quantum Zone that is calling upon Quasar.
And okay, so I have to cut in for a second. Sure. I didn't realize, because I forgot, this was the first appearance of Infinity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Infinity is the representation of time. No, space. And Eternity, who was introduced in Doctor Strange by Steve Ditko, is the representation of
time.
Time. I keep screwing them up. But anyway, so those are two of the highest beings in the universe. That we'll find out the other two later, but we won't talk about them. But I just wanted to point out, this is Infinity's first appearance.
Right. So we find out that Quasar's being has actually been kind of gifted by Infinity, and he has become something of a herald of Infinity, and now kind of pulls his power from her. So he now has this infinite power, much like the quantum bands themselves, that pulled energy from Infinity, from the quantum zone, to make the constructs that kind of form out of the quantum band. So Quasar is it's almost like he is the quantum band now. Like, he is the power itself, and can kind of do things just on his own that he would normally need the bands for. Right. Again, Maelstrom goes up to the Celestials now and kind of makes fun of them, and
makes fun of them.
He's just like, hey, I'm gonna. There's nothing you can do. You know, your destruction of unfit worlds is pointless. Yada yada yada. And then he gets this feeling. Oh no, he's back, and he quickly vanishes from this area, and we cut over and we see that Quasar is pulling energy from infinity and pushing it through this black hole to kind of feed the hunger, the consumption from the black hole, and is hoping to kind of overpower the infinite consumption of a black hole with infinity power itself to almost reverse the pull of the black hole. It's a really weird concept, but interesting. And honestly, it's just kind of the beginning of weird concepts, I think.
Yeah,
it gets even weirder.
It's like we have these cosmically impossible threats, so we have cosmically impossible solutions. Why not, right?
Right. And what I do love about it too is, at least, even though it only makes sense in a science fiction standpoint, it still makes sense.
It holds together. Yeah.
I buy the logic behind what's happening. So Maelstrom is not very happy about this, and he starts tackling Quasar, trying to stop him from using this power. And in doing so, they get sucked into the black hole, and Maelstrom is torn apart in this like crazy graphic little thin panel here as Quasar shoots back out of the black hole, and we're left to kind of figure out what's going to happen next in the next issue, because this is where it ends on this last panel here, as energy is being kind of like sucked into the black hole.
A little bit rushed. Oh no, the universe still collapsing faster than ever with the little boost I gave it. Maelstrom's dead, but he's still taking the universe along with him. The end. That just says next, end of the end. Right. Again, it's a good idea, but it could have been done a little bit better, in my opinion.
Or even just like a close up of Quasar's face here at the end. Like if this last panel was split into two, we're seeing everything being sucked in, and then we get this moment of like, what am I supposed to do now? Maelstrom is gone, but for some reason his powers are still sucking everything inside, and I don't know what to do now. Like it's
like panic. It should be panic, right?
Yeah. So again, another weird one. I really kind of love that Maelstrom is just boasting about his power and the end of the universe. It's super interesting. I don't think it's super important to the story. Specifically the Thanos stuff. I'm a little confused as to why we need to do that, and why Mephisto is there, and why he doesn't believe that he was like the Infinity Stones didn't work on him, but then brushes it off. Like
that scene is weird. It's weird,
strange. Yeah,
like I actually don't get it, because he's like, because Mephisto says, I know what he said. I want to know where he came from. Oh no, sorry. He says, does it truly matter, my lord? You obliterated him. He's like, I did? I thought I saw him standing in the wake of my blast. Heard him. No, sire. I believe it was only the cosmic wind. So either Mephisto is lying to him to get him to shut up, or to not scare him, or I don't know. I don't know what the point of that scene was. It's a weird scene, Right. However, I must point out, Infinity Gauntlet was drawn by George Perez. Infinity War and Crusade were drawn by Ron Lim. I am not a Ron Lim fan, okay?
Okay.
I am a huge George Perez fan, but this depiction of Thanos is freaking good.
Yeah.
It's almost like Michael Golden, like, again, an artist that just understands anatomy and understands action, and he just draws him in his own complete style. But that shot of Thanos shooting with
it's great.
It's just great. It's a great shot. It's a great sequence. Yeah, so this is paralleling a scene from this is Infinity Gauntlet, like I believe number 1 or 2, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's right out of there. But now also skip to the next page, or 2 pages over. What do you think about Infinity's design?
It is very interesting. I know that they are I know that they are kind of caricatures of these ideas. I feel like she's maybe the most human-y.
She's also the only woman. Oh no, Death is also a woman.
Right.
So Death is a woman, but she's a skeleton. Infinity is a woman, and she's wearing a bathing suit. Like, let's be clear, she's wearing like sexy lingerie. You know what I mean? Like, it's outrageous. Yeah,
it is a little strange.
Yeah.
I mean, the other one would be she's fighting, or they're fighting Oblivion.
Right? Yes.
And he almost looks like a creature.
Sure.
Like he is humanoid, but he has this like bestial like idea. I feel like it's a fine design, I guess, but I think that they could have done something a little bit more abstract for something that is infinite. It's just like this curvy woman.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But I do like the stripes though, like the weird. It's an odd choice, but it's cool. It's like. Clearly, Greg Capullo has a sense of design. It's just an odd choice to basically give her like this sexy outfit. It's kind of ridiculous. And even Quasar points it out in the next issue. He's like, man, it's kind of weird that I picture Infinity as the foxiest woman I've ever seen, or something like that. I don't remember exactly what he says, but something like that. But anyway, okay. So now we can jump to the next issue. The conclusion of Cosmos and Collision.
Here we go.
Quasar number 25. Not much of a cover, in my opinion. Not a great cover.
It is strange. Yeah, I don't love it.
And also the text ruins it. This is it, the final battle. If Quasar should fall, the universe itself dies. I don't know.
It's also huge. And like the lettering is so like weirdly chunky, and it almost looks like it's a sticker that's been slapped on the cover. It doesn't look like it's even a part of the cover. It's so
it's not.
Bizarre.
It's clearly added on later. Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't even look like it was added on with like by an artist. It looks like almost like a physical sticker that was literally put on the cover. You know what I mean? Like it's so bizarre and out of place.
I don't know exactly how these things were made, but back in those days, maybe that's how they actually did it. They just took. Maybe they cut out a piece of paper, right?
Right, yeah.
Just put it right over top, yeah.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so we're going to jump in now.
Okay.
So we open up whenever Uatu narrates a story, we know that... Oh, no, it's not Uatu, though. It's Egma, right?
Right. This one is a different one. I can't remember their name. I don't think it says here on this first one. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So he's narrating the story, and he's talking to the other Watchers, and they're basically watching as the universe is about to be destroyed, right?
Right.
And kind of going back and forth, and they're trying to figure out how it got this far, and what are we going to do? And then this is actually a nice little, I call it an Alan Moore sequence, but it's probably something that Jim Starlin used to do back in the 70s. But you have the camera holding, and then you have this spaceship flying up behind them and getting bigger. It's great. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, it's great.
Pardon me. Then the Celestials get out of the ship, and the Celestials do not speak. They're freaking awesome. They were depicted in the Eternals movie, and then everyone forgot about them.
Right.
So, yeah, we don't know what's going to happen with them. But anyway, so then we cut over, actually, and if you can take it over from here for a bit.
Yeah, real quick. I really love this moment of there's two. I'm trying to remember where it is here. Maybe it's on this page, but there's a moment where two of the Watchers are kind of like, if this is really the end, will you hold me? It was, I don't know why I was like, whoa, that's such a, I think it also had a little bit more levity to it because, or not levity, weight to it because these beings have always kind of been depicted as like almost emotionless.
Yes.
They can't really get involved with anything that's going on. They can't let their emotions dictate what they're witnessing because they can't step in to stop it. So the fact that they've kind of accepted that this is the end and they're going to kind of break some of their rules to have some emotion and like need that comfort in their last moments was really kind of
it's
a really small touch, but I love
great
that.
writing. I'm shocked that it was in this comic. It's great writing. Yeah, I love it.
Okay, so again, we're getting caught up with Quasar, and at this moment, he's realized that even though Maelstrom is dead, for some reason his powers are still at work, and this black hole is sucking the entire universe inside of it. So he has this moment of trying to figure out what to do, and he's like, you know what, my physical body didn't have hands, but I am just this ethereal, infinite power. Why don't I just have hands? So he just makes his hands reappear. Kind of a fun little moment. And he dives right back into the black hole. Mm-hmm. And he's ready to face kind of whatever's going on here. Oh, right. So he's hoping that with his infinite power that is inside of him, that is he's kind of like he himself is like a portal to infinite power, right? Like he's like pulling it from the quantum zone, from infinity itself. So he's hoping that if he dives down in here and lets the black hole consume him, it will essentially consume infinity and again kind of go backwards. But in doing so, he almost has to sacrifice himself totally, and he's compressed down into like a single atom in this moment. He's slowly losing his thoughts, and then we're kind of left on a little bit of a cliffhanger to see what's going to happen. We cut back to Earth once again, and Moondragon is here, and the three weird sisters show up, and we are reintroduced to what was it? Truth, and she's the one.
Charm.
Truth is the one that battles her before. She shows back up and she's like, guess what? I've got my sisters with me now, and they introduce themselves. Charm is like, hey, I'm Charm, so I have a bunch of appendages that come off of me for some reason, and that's my power. And then Beauty is like, hey, what's up? I'm literally so beautiful that you can't even look at me because you can't even fathom what I would look like. I'm so beautiful. So she's kind of just like this beam of light. Yeah. So now she has to fight these three entities. Honestly, I feel like this is maybe the weakest part of the story. Well, they kind of just...
To just back up a minute here.
Yeah, sure.
The universe is about to be destroyed.
Right, yeah.
So when you have that scale of conflict going on, and then you cut back to this, you might as well like, oh my God, I don't know, I ran out of ketchup. How am I going to eat my French fries? Like it's such a low level conflict that you just don't care, right? I mean, granted, these characters are in danger, but the universe is about to be destroyed, right? So
yeah, so later on, something similar to this happens, and I feel like it has a little bit more weight to it, even though we are cutting back to Earth. I almost wish that Moondragon knew that the Weird Sisters were leaving to go do the same thing. Sure. So she shows up to kind of defend what's going on later, because it does have something to do with the bigger story. But this is like nothing. If the Weird Sisters win here and Moondragon dies, the only thing that happens is Moondragon dies, and the universe still is kind of left in limbo. We don't know what's happening. So yeah, you're right. It is kind of weird. And on top of that, I don't think that this fight is very exciting.
Sure. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Charm uses her like mandibles to like hold onto her feet so she can't move, but she's just kind of like weirdly on the ground with her like tentacle head like grabbing onto her feet. Right. I don't know. There's just so many weird moments, and then it's done in like such a quick flash where she picks up Beauty and smashes her onto the ground, and that somehow knocks out the other three sisters. I don't really quite understand.
Right.
And then as this happens, we see a pair of legs step into frame and say Moondragon's name, and she turns around saying, "Ooh, like who is this?"
And then we cut away.
We cut away again.
Yeah.
Right. So again, we see Doctor Strange. He's focusing with all of these other sorcerers from around the universe. Again, to kind of slow down the slowing of the Earth. And Death Urge shows up. And he is there to kind of stop Doctor Strange. And that's when the Wizard shows up and actually grabs Death Urge and jumps out of the sanctum. He was sent there by one of the other wizards from his dimension. And the other Ex-Squadron Supreme as well kind of show up to help fight Death Urge at the end. Again, this feels like it at least has like some like
bearing on what's actually
in the story, right? Because if Doctor Strange is stopped, then it doesn't really matter what happens with the universe. Like the Earth is going to die, right? So I feel like it does have like something going on in the story.
Sure.
So again, I almost hoped that like that they had instead sent Death Urge and the Weird Sisters together to go here, and then Moondragon and the Ex-Squadron Supreme could team up to like defend Doctor Strange or something. Even that small change, I think, would help with the story, kind of, you know, make it feel like it fits. Anyways, by
the way, before you continue,
yeah.
This is around the time I started to notice the inking. The inking on Hyperion,
I definitely see this.
Looks a little bit Image-esque. Like that almost looks like a Jim Lee shot, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was just for that image, but then if you go to the next page with the aliens, the green alien,
yeah,
it's
I
just
can see.
Slightly Image-esque, and it really
even the Watchers feel a little out of character at this moment.
It irks me because when Greg Capullo went to Spawn, I'm sorry, but his style became crappy.
Right.
Because the inks were crappy, and they weren't even like McFarlane. They were just third-rate McFarlane and Liefeld, and I just feel like if you go back one or two issues, the inks were perfect. So if I ever meet either one of Keith Williams or Greg Capullo, I'm going to ask them about that. But anyway, back to the story.
All of these like beings are standing here watching this destruction of the center of the universe. Then we cut into this black hole, and we see Oblivion floating here, and out from the shadows, Lord Maelstrom steps, and he says that, look, I am one of Oblivion's heralds, and even though you destroyed my physical form, my powers are still here, I'm still here, and I'm ready to fight for Maelstrom. And in that moment, Quasar kind of gasps, and out shoots this little tiny being, and it grows to infinite size. And Infinity is standing here, and she says, just as you are a herald of him, he is a herald of me, Infinity. And they kind of like form together almost, and they start fighting each other kind of simultaneously. It's almost like like a mech almost, right? Yeah, like an avatar, like a mech, absolutely. Right? Kind of.
I was just gonna say it's like Voltron, or
right?
Something,
yeah, like
you're right.
But it's like both the entity and their herald kind of controlling at the same time for power. It's a really cool thought, and I also think that like this moment is really cool. I think in the physical, in the comic itself, it really works visually. I love this moment of like the almost entirely purple and red panel, and then the entirely yellow and blue panel, or yellow and black, and then the two colors split down the middle, like with the two battles happening simultaneously. It works really well. The cover just doesn't read.
Well, you know what? It almost makes me think maybe the cover doesn't work because it's like a big image and a small image, kind of like this panel. But if they would have put them closer together, but also blended the two images, like maybe just made them over top of each other, maybe it would have been more effective. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I agree. But then we cut back to Earth, and for some reason Cersei is here.
Yeah.
And these two half-naked women are just kind of like casually talking to each other while the universe is ending, and casually is like, Quasar died, and also Makari.
Yeah, also Makari died. Yeah.
Also Makari's dead too. And Cersei's like, what? Makari can't die. He's an eternal. It's in our name.
Right.
We can't die. And then a bunch more bad guys show up. And then again, Cersei quickly kind of waves her hand. They turn into animals. And they're left here kind of sad about the fact that their two friends are dead.
Right.
Again, we cut over to the Ex-Squadron Supreme fighting Death Urge. Doctor Strange is still holding on, and Earth is here kind of telling him that it's not much longer. The fight is almost done. Again, we see them kind of fighting each other. Quasar is kind of thinking about how he can stop Maelstrom. And he has an idea here. A little old lady by the name of Origin changed it retroactively throughout time on what seemed to be a whim. This is the baby, yes.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just love what he says here. Did you see it? My other attire. I'll show it to you again. You didn't recognize it. Of course not. I love this detail. I just love it.
So when Origin rewrote Quasar's story, she made Quasar a temporal anomaly, a walking pocket of reality inversion.
Right.
So he himself is an anomaly, which leaves Maelstrom just a moment to second guess himself.
Yes.
And in doing so, he was not able to hold on to the spell or the magic that he was using to control the quantum bands. So it's not that he necessarily won the battle between eternity and oblivion, but but Maelstrom lost the battle with the quantum bands, and the quantum bands consume him, and he is no more, which is, I think, an interesting thought, because then it's a really clever way to end this battle too, because it leaves these two entities still on even ground. Infinity didn't win over Oblivion. It was still an even match at the end of the day.
Right.
I really like that. So again, we cut back over to all of these guys, and they're seeing the universe kind of fix itself. And then these two avatars pull out their other two like matching avatars, essentially. Oblivion brings death, and death kind of appears from out of him, and then Infinity brings eternity, and the two of them kind of split away from each other. So it's almost like they're paired together and definitely closely intertwined.
I got to point out this this thought bubble from Quasar. He's like, man, the skeletal being just stepped out of Oblivion, and that starry guy just stepped out of Infinity. Were they there all along, or did they just use their bodies as portals? Like, I just love that fact that it's like these beings are existing on another reality we cannot understand. I think it's so freaking cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So Quasar steps away. He uses the quantum bands to reverse Maelstrom's power over the Earth, relieving Doctor Strange of his duty to stop it. And then he uses the quantum bands and his infinite like energy power to restore his body and put himself back into his human form. And in doing so, he also gives himself a bit of a makeover, a nice little haircut, and he's got a mullet now, and brand new costume. What's that?
I said, unfortunately, he has a mullet.
You're right. A brand new costume, and he even kind of brags about, he didn't get this costume from S.H.I.E.L.D., he didn't get it from Eon or Origin. This costume's my own design. And I'm finally going to be my own hero, which is pretty cool. Infinity shows back up. She's kind of like, hey, you're not my herald for now, but I might call upon you again one day. We ended up like coming up with a deal. Maelstrom and Eon goes to Oblivion, and Quasar and Makari belong to Infinity. So both Quasar and Makari get their life back. And then they're kind of there celebrating the fact that they're living. We cut back to Doctor Strange and Earth as they are kind of relieved that everything is safe. And then we get this nice little kind of callback to the first issue when Maelstrom was talking to this entity, Kronos of Titan, who, if you remember, his mission was to see infinity. And he was there when everything was happening. So he very quickly got a glimpse of infinity, and he feels kind of at peace, which is really kind of a nice way to end this little arc.
Yes, but I don't know. Honestly, this ending feels like all over the place to me. Like, just the way that Makari comes back, then we cut to Doctor Strange. I don't know. It just feels...
Yeah.
Right? And then over to Kronos. Like, what's going on? I don't know. I just thought that there was too much of some stuff and not enough of others. This whole issue. Not to say that I didn't enjoy it, but now that it's over, I can kind of, like, especially because we talked about the rushed endings, this feels like another awkward and rushed ending to me.
Yeah, I feel like we could have had a small little panel on this page of Doctor Strange being relieved. You know what I mean? Like, we see the Earth is back to normal, and we cut really quickly to a panel of him kind of like falling to the ground or something to show that he's like he's done. And then the rest of the comic could be about our character and a better explanation of what's happened now and what is to come next, because this really, it almost feels like an end of Quasar in a sense, right?
Well,
like,
yeah, because we've just wrapped up 2 years of story, right?
Right.
Like this is the original big story arc.
Yeah.
So it should be.
It's his whole
purpose,
right? Like, it's
so
if Banner had cured himself of the Hulk, it's like, what is next? Like, this feels like it's done.
100%, right.
So,
like, it feels like they have to wrap up all the subplots, but instead they just touch on a few. Then they give all the screen time to other characters. It's weird.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I agree. I do like the ending on Kronos.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a nice way to end this whole arc. But I wish we would have gotten a little bit more of Quasar and Makari, or it is very rushed. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah.
But I think as a whole, I really love this story arc. It is really fun. I can't. There's not much else that kind of matches this weirdness and energy.
Yeah, I agree.
In like mainstream kind of Marvel, Infinity Gauntlet and stuff like that. They have weird things like this, but I love this like science fiction style. Like, it's really fun and very unique.
I agree. I do love Jim Starlin. I think he did a great job. But yeah, this is a slightly different style, and obviously I really like it. I think, as we've pointed out, we're both surprised that Quasar, after his series was canceled, kind of disappeared and just never really came back. He kind of did, but not really. But nobody seems to care about him, right?
Right.
So anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish that we would have maybe gotten a little bit more of these like beings talking to each other.
Sure.
It also feels like it feels a little strange that part of the bargain of Infinity with Infinity was that Quasar got to live and got to be a human again, but we just saw Quasar just do that himself.
But maybe it's implying that Infinity did that?
Maybe. I don't
know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I almost would have just, I think, rather had seen this happen and then the deal happen and then Quasar chooses his form again or something, and then
right.
Because I feel like it would have felt like a real wrap up to everything happening here, and then maybe had a little wrap up of like Eon and his father, like having some sort of like funeral or something. You know what I mean? Like some sort of moment. It does still feel a little unfinished. But
well, maybe they're going to touch on that in the next issue of Quasar.
I hope so.
Yeah, which we will be reviewing on our next episode, which you can look for in about a month from now.
Okay.
So be sure to join us for that. Otherwise, you can join us every 2 weeks for Taped Crusaders and every 2 weeks in between for Slam, right? So there you go. And Josh, you can take it from here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. You can find all of our stuff over on our website at thecomicbooksyndicate.com. You can also find all of our stuff on our YouTube channel. Our podcasts are a video format as well, so you can see all the stuff that we're talking about, see our faces, see the comics and the panels and things as we're talking about them. So go check us out there, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about the stuff we're talking about. And yeah, until next time, we will see you later.
See ya!